If you're looking to invest in physical precious metals or convert your 401k to a precious metals backed IRA, please consider making your investment with our trusted partner, MetalStacks. Their prices regularly beat the big sites and they have no credit card fees or minimums. Shipping is free for orders over $500. Just visit metalstacks.com/dwalker or get there from our website, freedomstate.us. If you're interested in the IRA conversion, drop me a message at Danielle@freedomstate.us and I can get you connected with their white glove service. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to For the Love of Freedom. Today is Wednesday, October 1st. If you can believe it, it's 10 a.m. Central, and I'm coming to you live on Voice of the People USA TV and Radio Network on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook. After the fact, you can catch us on any of those platforms as well as our audio-only platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you prefer to watch or listen to your podcasts. I am your host, Danielle Walker, and on this show, we meet people who've rejected the status quo, people who've broken with convention, and people who have broken with the belief that the TV tells them the truth. And each of my guests, in their own way, are working to bring freedom to the world. Well, if you watch The State of Freedom when we interviewed him in early August, you'll recognize my guest today, Sean Taylor. He's the retired Assistant Chief of Police from Millersville, Tennessee. If you watch that show, if you didn't watch that show, rather, it's episode 323. And today's show will make you want to go back and watch it, no doubt. Sean and his team uncovered a web of political corruption that's responsible for disrupting elections, subverting the will of the people, making homes unaffordable, and rotting the fabric of American society. Today, we're going to get into the story behind that story. We'll be digging into why Sean is so committed to seeing the truth come out, why he's so driven to ensure that justice comes for corruption. Welcome to the show, Sean. It's so great to have you back.
Thank you for having me on. I do appreciate it. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you again, and it's been just such a pleasure to stay in touch with you a little bit behind the scenes. There's so much fun going on. I mean, it's
Yes.
it's the exposure of horrific things is great to see. Is great to see
Yes.
somehow. Well,
Yes, it
Sean,
is.
you know that I like to start out the show with a scripture to frame things out for us. And today's scripture is Jeremiah chapter 51, and it says this. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, has devoured me and crushed me. He set me down like an empty vessel. He swallowed me like a monster. He has filled his stomach with my delicacies. He has washed me away. May the violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon. The inhabitant of Zion will say, and may my blood be upon the inhabitants of Chaldea. Jerusalem will say, therefore, thus says the Lord, behold, I am going to plead your case and exact full vengeance for you, and I will dry up her sea and make her fountain dry. Babylon will become a heap of ruins, a haunt of jackals, an object of horror and hissing without inhabitants. And that sounds pretty harsh. That sounds pretty darn harsh. But we are among the people who the Lord has taught to pray prayers like this. For me, it's been the last 5 years. I've come out of my modern American Christianity mindset of shying away from the Lord's vengeance, because when you see all that's been lost, all that's been stolen, all that's been destroyed at the hands of evil monsters who have been holding the levers of power, you can recognize that the only way out is absolutely the Lord's vengeance. So I don't know if you want to respond to that directly, but I'd love to start out hearing from you on how long you have been praying those kinds of prayers, because you come from a law enforcement background where you saw gruesome stuff probably a lot sooner than I did, and probably you've seen a lot more than I have.
I was raised in the church, and we kind of bounced around everything from Baptist, Presbyterian to Catholic, and I kind of lost my way, I guess, in my late teens and early 20s. And when I got into law enforcement, I hadn't lost my faith. It had taken a back seat then. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, when I started seeing humanity and the way that people were treating one another, I was like, there's got to be something else. And that's what really brought me back to the church. And the thing that upset me was when I did go back to church is seeing the hand of man within the church and how things were being operated in the church, and whether it was an Orthodox religion, whatever it was, I was seeing that, and that was very upsetting as well. And so I was lucky enough to meet some people that taught me how to pray, how to be with God, and to be a follower of Jesus Christ.
Hmm.
And that really helped settle my soul and be able to help deal with things. Seen a lot, been through a lot, but God prepares you by putting you in small battles like that and even big battles like that
Yeah.
for what you're going to be involved in later. He builds us in a certain manner, and those battles that you fight along your life go into what he has set out for you. And that's what I've learned. And one of the people that's kind of helped me, we actually lost him about a week ago, was Boone Cutler. And
Yeah.
Boone was a dear friend of mine. Great guy, taught me a lot, taught me how to look at things in a completely different light. And
He did that for so many people, Sean. It's amazing the impact he had. If you were willing to, I mean, he was my absolute favorite X follow because every time I looked on X, he had something either salty or something really encouraging or something to kind of mess with you and say, okay, now how are you going to look at this?
right,
Provocative.
yeah. And so he taught me a lot on the different ways and the different aspects and how to look at things. And one of the things that I've learned is the Bible is a living and breathing thing,
Yeah.
because you can read scripture when you're young or learn it while you're at church and Sunday school, and it means one thing. When you go into your adolescence, it means another thing. When you get into your young adulthood, it means another thing. And it literally is a book that grows with you, and it can be the same exact scripture, but it's going to have different meanings in different parts of your life. And I know no other book in existence that's like that, and it's just an
Yeah.
amazing thing.
It is. And I wanted to read a word of blessing over you too, Sean, because the work that you're doing is so dangerous, because the people that you're going after are so powerful, and unseen, right? I
Yeah.
think a lot of the powers that are behind this are unseen. And this is the scripture. It's Proverbs 2, verses 7 through 9. And it says, "For the Lord has a hidden storehouse of wisdom made accessible to his godly lovers. He becomes your personal bodyguard as you follow his ways, protecting and guarding you as you choose what's right. Then you will discover all that is just, proper, and fair, and be empowered to make the right decisions as you walk into your destiny." And that's where I see you right now. I know we haven't known each other for very long, but you have been through the ringer probably in the last, what, 8 months, 10 months,
Oh,
probably
yeah.
longer than that.
Yeah, probably over the
Uh,
last year and a half. Yep.
yeah. But the Lord is walking you through destiny, into destiny, and He is protecting you. I believe that He's given
Yes.
you and your wife wisdom on how to stay under the radar, where you need to stay, and who you need to be connected to. So take that as an encouragement this morning.
Thank you. Thank you. We've got a lot of people that have, people like the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, have weaponized law enforcement against us, claiming that they're claiming we weaponize law enforcement by investigating corruption. We were able to prove it. And they came after us because of the political influence into the people that, we uncovered the corruption with, and then how high it
Yeah.
went. And when you're dealing with stuff like that, it's the same thing that President Trump has had to deal with. It's the same thing that General Flynn has dealt with.
Yeah.
And these people will have to answer someday. And people need to understand that this is good versus evil. At the end of the day, that's what this is. This is a spiritual battle, spiritual warfare. And it's funny because in the RICO case that we filed against, we have a civil RICO that we filed, and one of the respondents basically called me crazy for saying that they were demonic. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, our Constitution, this country is based off of uh, God, of Christianity, and us being sovereign beings, and they're attacking me, and they're supposed to be enforcing. All these people are supposed to be enforcing the Constitution. That's what we look at. So when I call something demonic, and these people are like, "Oh, he's crazy," think about that for a minute. Think how far these people are trying to push us away from God and
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Think about that. That's their entire thing. And that was really the primary attack that these people have had to move their corruption forward. Is let's get them out of the church.
Mm.
Let's start relaxing the things at the church, and not really holding people accountable according to the Word of God. And that's an issue, because when we stray like that, that allows Satan to come in and the demonic forces to come in and create their attack, and to separate us from the Holy Spirit and all of that. And that's what I've really found in this investigation, is these people have sold their soul for money and power.
They have. And have you seen the clip from Hillary Clinton a couple days ago where she said basically the number one threat to the future of our republic is Christian men? I was like, "You're damn right, lady. You're
Right.
damn right."
And we're proud of it. We're proud of it.
Exactly.
She should be afraid,
Exactly.
because, God knows how it ends.
Mhm.
And at the end of time, she's going to have to answer for the sins that she's done. She's committed, and just like
Yeah.
all of us. She's
Yeah.
no
I'm
different.
sure I'm sure she didn't call it the republic. I should probably correct the record. I'm sure she was calling it our democracy, like they love
Right.
to do.
Yes. Yes. So what you want to get into today? Where do we
I
want to go?
Well, one, I wanted to start probably in the middle a little bit, and I was just wondering, you've come up against some people who are kind of so deep in corruption. And one thing I've learned from people who are deep in corruption, or learned about people who are deep in corruption, is that they really do believe their own lies. Um, which is a remarkable sight to behold, and I didn't really think it was a real thing until I witnessed it firsthand, and I was like, "No, these people actually believe their own lies." So, as you've had to deal with some of these people, have they ever made you feel like you're crazy? Like, have you ever just, like, looked up and been like, "Am I going crazy, or is this really happening?"
No, I've never looked up and thought that, because when I look at things, I look at things through the totality of the circumstances. So what that is we take our life events and the things that we've seen and all the information that we've gathered through life. And the simple fact is Generation X, the Generation Xers can see. We saw at a young age the wall come down. We saw the stuff with the Cold War. We've seen all of these. So in our time, in our life, we have actually been here to observe so many great things. But we've also observed how these people have been chipping away at our social mores and what our social laws are. And that's the social justice warriors who are trying to make it okay for pedophilia, child trafficking, corruption, and things like that. And so it really hasn't made me question, am I crazy? Is there like what am I missing? What are they seeing that I'm not seeing? And I realize what they're seeing is the propaganda.
Mm,
And what's happened is we have become a society that's medicated. We are a society that's medicated versus turning to God and praying, versus going through counseling and actually getting to the root of an issue. And when we don't know what the root of the issue is, what happens? They end up just giving you medication to cover that up.
Yeah.
and it develops into more of a mental illness or a stronger issue within a person's life. And these are the people that the progressive liberals prey upon. It's no different than what the gangs did in the 80s and the 90s. These gang members picked up on the indicators that a child was at risk, a young child was at risk because maybe dad wasn't in the home. It was in a poor area of town, and the family needed money and things like that. So there were these little indicators that the gangs picked up on, and they knew who to recruit. Well, that's no different than what's happening with the progressive liberals. And I don't like to use Democrat or Republicans
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter at the end of the day. You have the Uniparty, which is made up of your Rhino Republicans and your progressive liberals, and both parties have been infiltrated 100%.
Yeah.
So I like to use progressive liberals. There is a mental illness that is it's affecting all of majority of them. There's been an event in their life that they haven't dealt with, and they've not dealt with it and gotten the proper counseling, and a lot of times they'll cover it up with the medications and things like that because but doctors are now trained, give out this medicine, give out this medicine, give out
It's
this
true.
medicine. Why are they doing that? Well, because Big Pharma is the one who's helping pay for the grants for them to go to school. Big
Yeah.
Pharma is the ones paying for their books, paying for all of these things. So they're going to do what Big Pharma says, including the schools going to teach what Big Pharma says, because that's where they're getting the grants to build all their new dorms and all of that. So what happens is we're covering up a lot of the mental illness and issues with medication, and the progressive liberals are preying upon that. The progressive liberals do not want a person who has had a event in their life that's traumatic. The progressive liberals don't want them to go to counseling. The progressive liberals do not want them to find God. And the reason why is because if they do find God and they do go to counseling, then they're not as susceptible to the programming that they're putting out across the mainstream media and the propaganda.
Yeah. Yeah. Except, I mean, I think they do encourage the kind of therapy that accelerates people into
Yeah.
greater evils, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we're
they
seeing
capitalize.
that with the yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Now, Sean, to take it back to kind of your professional life, I seem to recall maybe Matt Meck or possibly Mark Fincham,
Mhm.
I'm not exactly sure which one of them was saying that you came into the position of assistant chief of police in Millersville because there was some corruption that had been incessant in that area, and maybe the city council
Yeah.
tried to clean things out, and that's how you and maybe the chief came into position. Would you talk about that a little bit?
So what happened is that Millersville had been known for corruption for many years because it was always the same people on the board, same people in the area. And there was a spike in the corruption there, the amount of housing, single family residences that were being built, and things like that. And it came down to just a very small group of people. Um, there was a special election, and the tides turned. And I was asked if I would join, and I was like, well, I had to think about it. I thought about it, and we had been seeing that it was the police department that was involved in corruption as well for the selling of police commission cards, so that these guys who had never been a police officer could go to downtown Nashville and work for a security company, making all kinds of money. Well, that security company was also in bed with the police department as well. And so there was money flowing back and forth there. Again, we went into the single family residences and the permits, building permits, all of that. It even went into voting fraud and election fraud. And we had this brought to us not only from the local news media, but from citizens who had asked us to look into this and to investigate it. And that's our obligation. If we don't look at that, we took an oath to do this and to
Yeah.
protect our people under the Constitution. And all of a sudden we start looking at it and we see how vast it is and all the places that it went. And we were like, holy cow. So we started reaching out. We'd actually reached out to the TBI in the beginning. We'd got the emails that we'd reached out to them,
Mhm.
their assistance. We had reached out to the courts to assist us. We'd reached out to the state attorney general requesting a special prosecutor pro tem and an investigative grand jury because we didn't want it to look like we were trying to target somebody. And that's what they're claiming is we targeted somebody. No, we
And
didn't
one
target
quick question in that. So Millersville is a small town, as I
anyone.
understand. When you started the corruption that the town recognized, was that like concentrated in the hands of a small group of families? Is that kind of how the corruption was moving?
It was, but then we realized that it moved into the county and into the district attorney's office. It moved into the judiciary, and from there it went up to the state level, and then from the state level it went to the federal level. Then from the federal level it went transnational.
Wow.
So, when we started looking at this in totality, I'm like, guys, like this is, we need a special investigative grand jury. We need this. We need this. And so we went through every hoop that's available. We went to the FBI. We went to the Department of Commerce and Insurance, who's over the licensing and the administrative side. Like we reached out to everybody. We've got all the documentation to prove that. And they just would not get involved. And we later found out the reason they wouldn't get involved is because we had election fraud. We had voter fraud. We ended up finding numerous mortgages. I'm going to say probably, I don't know, 50. Well, I'll say just in that area, I'll say probably close to $6 billion in mortgage
Dang.
fraud in just this area. And we had it tied into the people that were connected to our elections. We had it connected to the judges. We had it connected to the district attorneys. We had it connected to all of these people. And when you flip a rock like that over, wow, the wasps come out stinging.
No kidding. I have
So
to I have
that's
to
how
tell
it.
you, when I saw your press conference, we live streamed your press conference from Vegas with Mark Fincham and Craig Sawyer from I guess it was earlier last year sometime, maybe late summer or something. And when I saw that Letitia James was getting indicted or was accused of mortgage fraud, I was like, I could hear the Jaws soundtrack starting to play, like we're coming for you. And
Yeah,
then the next one was Adam Schiff, who I couldn't wish it on a more disgusting human.
right.
I know there's a lot more behind it than that. Because I think what Eagle Ed Martin said was, these people, if they're committing this kind of fraud, people who lie in a lot of different areas of life,
Yeah,
and people who do dirty things do them in a lot of different places in life. And then, of course, most recently is that Fed governor that Trump has been trying to fire, and I think he was maybe finally able to fire. I haven't followed it that closely, but she seems like a real piece of work
yeah.
too. So I mean, I'm so happy to see the beginnings, at least the movements toward justice happening to really horrific people. Uh, what what other signs are you seeing that are giving you encouragement on this front?
We've been to DC several times. Um, we've met with General Ed Martin. We've met with other U.S. attorneys in D.C. We've met with U.S. attorneys in other states. We've met with state attorney generals that are very receptive. And one of the things that's already starting to move is the nonprofits. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to share my screen with you here. If
Sure,
that's
go
okay.
for it.
And what we have to understand is that there's a net, and what we found is that it it is much larger than what we had originally thought.
Wow.
So what we're seeing is when you go into Act Blue, it goes into things like this young lady right here, Darcy Burner. Okay, Darcy is one of the directors of Act Blue. But what Darcy's also employed by is Graham Holdings. Graham Holdings is owned by Jeffrey Bezos. So we find that, and then we find out that that comes into NHI, Nash Holdings. that goes into the Washington Post. And then, it's got the doing business as Graham Holdings, but then we found the local connection for here in Tennessee with Chip William Engler that's involved with this stuff too. We found out that Act Blue has another person by the name of Kimberly Peeler Allen, who is one of the directors of Act Blue. And she is the founder for Higher Heights, America PAC, and the Fund for Public Advocacy. But we also found out is she has worked for Letitia James, and then Higher Heights has backed Letitia James, Kamala Harris, and Omar Young. And what we're finding is there are companies that are attached to this political PAC and nonprofit, because it's also a nonprofit, that go into the mortgage fraud. And so what we're finding is places like Arabella,
Heard about that.
the Fund for Public Health in New York City, Democracy Forward, and then New Organization Institute. And I think one of the ones that everybody's hearing about right now is going to be, let me see if I can find it here for us right quick.
This is a heck of a map.
Open Society Foundation.
Oh yeah, the Soros. That was his first big organization, if I recall.
Yes. And that's one of the ones that we have everything tied to with Act Blue and all of this as well. And
Wow.
it goes into your trans community with Magente for trans Latinos and things of that nature. We've tied in the smurfing to it. And what's happening is, you got the New World Foundation, Latinos for Justice. You have all of these things that are happening. We even have this one here, this gentleman that's a part of the New World Foundation here that is tied to Democracy Forward. And he is the president for Opus Dei in New York City. Now, the reason that is important and what people need to understand is I'm going to take and share a different screen.
Okay.
And people are like, how does Sean Taylor come up with this ties into human trafficking and yada, yada, yada? Well, all it takes is a little time and a little initiative on a person's part to get on Mom, Pa, Google, and start seeing Opus Dei charged with human trafficking and labor exploitation. And this is July 6th of 2025.
And that looks a lot like a priest, doesn't it?
Yes, it is. And this is in Argentina. And boy, it's amazing how we got a lot of stuff going on in that part of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't that where that's the Nazis that didn't make it in through our State Department here made it into Argentina, didn't they?
Right. So, it's not a jump. This is a simple step. And what people don't seem to understand is these nonprofits, these NGOs that are tied to Soros, that are tied to Jeff Bezos, that are tied to Reed Garrett Hoffman, that are tied to people like Bill Gates and things like that, is, we have them tied into all of these different things. The reporter who was attacking me, is connected to these people through Midas Touch Media. And what we ended up finding is we had people like Bill Gates, this gentleman here, Bradford Smith, and they are connected directly to Navic Systems and Reed Garrett Hoffman right here. And Reed Garrett Hoffman's one of the biggest funders of all of these nonprofits and things of that nature. But what that ends up going down into, we found, is let me get down to it here for you, is going to be a thing that's called, KIND. And KIND stands for Kids in Need of Defense. There we go. And all of these people that I just named are on the board there. And this is from their website. For 15 years, we've been at the forefront of protecting unaccompanied immigrants and refugee children worldwide.
Wow. That's so sick. Because they're not protecting them.
That's right. So, when we're running into that stuff, These are indicators. One indicator in and of itself doesn't mean anything. But what
Yeah.
we have here, when we back out of this, is you're going to see that one indicator goes into clusters of indicators.
Look at that. Yeah.
Okay. They go into clusters of indicators. And what happens is I'm sure you've heard President Trump talk about calling the Tennessee governor a rhino. And he absolutely is. And when you start looking at the people that he's connected to, people like Bill Haslam, who's tied directly to Bill Corker, they literally grew up together. And Bob Corker got the Haslams out of the rebate scheme investigation. And that helped broker the Iran deal. You got Governor Bill Lee, who's supposed to be this Christian man. I think Bill Lee is an unwitting person, and that they have something on him. You got Bob Corker. You've got the DA Glenn Funk. You've got Lamar Alexander, and all of that end up tying in. And what people need to understand is the red lines in these charts are continuity. That means that this single red line is running through the entire chart.
Whoa.
That's not multiple red lines. That is one red line that attaches everything. The green lines are the money flow.
And that's what I want to talk about, if you don't
Okay.
mind. Do
Absolutely.
you have an indication on what the starting point for the money is? Because, I've thought about the USAID funding getting shut off. I would think that that might be a good valve to have closed off. But you see the vastness of this network that you just laid out. And you have to know that now that the money exists, it's just being recycled. It's gaining compound interest in places. They don't necessarily, I'm not saying they don't need it to come from the government, because we wouldn't probably be in a shutdown if they didn't.
Right.
But I think there probably is some self-sustaining that can happen until these people get rolled up. But where did it start out from?
So what we have to look at is the cartels and the CCP have been trying to infiltrate the United States for a very long time, as well as the BRICS nations. And what people need to understand is we have been under attack. I mean, just forever. I mean, literally forever. And my dog back here groaning.
He's agreeing with you.
Yeah, he's like,
he does that when he hears CCP.
Yeah, exactly. So what we have to look at is we have been under attack, and the banks are part of this. And that's what I'm going to pull up for you right now is these people are, a banker is going to take your money no matter what. Okay.
Yeah.
They're going to take your money no matter what. And this is the feds hit the TD Bank with a $3 billion in penalties for money laundering scheme benefiting drug traffickers. Okay. It wasn't just drug traffickers. It ended up being the CCP as well. Okay?
And there's a lot of branches of TD Bank in the DC metro area, if you were wondering, Sean. I'm sure you already know that, but there just do happen to be a lot of those banks.
And Royal Bank of Canada, which is RBC, and the Bank of Montreal. And the interesting thing about Bank of Montreal, RBC, Toronto Dominion, and all that is those three banks opened up another company called SimCorp, which is an electronic payment platform.
Wow. So this is why people in security would say it's not just the southern border, it's the northern border.
Exactly.
And the Chinese have been going in through Canada. Is that how it's been happening?
Yes, absolutely. And if you look right here, it says over a 6-year period from January 2018 through April, TD Bank failed to monitor 18.3 trillion. Okay. So when you look at that in totality, that's just what we know about. That's just what we know about. So when you're talking about 18.3 trillion, it's going to have that trickle down effect. And that's how they're paying for the judges. It's how they're paying for the DAs. That's how they're paying the city councils, the county commissioners. That's your trickle down effect. And then that's the money that we believe is going into you're smurfing to be able to get these people like Justin Jones, Maxwell Frost, and all of them into office, because those people are nothing more. Those politicians are nothing more than puppets for this social justice movement that is preying on people that have lost God in their life, who aren't going to counseling, who are again depending on that medication.
Do you have any idea about the kind of people that are behind the bribing or coercing or threatening of judges and politicians? Like what kind of people they are?
I don't. There's a few things I'm not allowed to talk about right now,
Sure.
because the people that we've been meeting with, and I don't think it's necessarily that they are threatening.
Okay.
Okay. Um, some of these people are living well beyond their means. And if you start digging into these judges and start digging into their family, start digging into these DAs, you're going to start seeing the nonprofits that are attached to them, that they're board members of, or they founded these NGOs and nonprofits. And so they're receiving money through these. And you're going to end up seeing money from like USAID, or money moving through other nonprofits and NGOs coming to their nonprofit or NGO, as well as what we're seeing here with cartel money and CCP money. So it is just a huge ball of yarn that you have to take the time to pull apart and look at, and find it from one end to the other end. And
Is the
it's hard.
money going just to campaigns or, I mean, the money is paying for mortgages in a way you've shown
Mhm.
that. Is the money going into things like trusts where these people can just use it as free money for their own benefit?
Yeah, and that's another thing I can't get into right now.
Sure. One other thing I wanted to bring up on this topic, as you were kind of pointing at some of these people, you brought up Reid Hoffman, you
Mhm.
brought up Bezos. These are two men that Trump has kind of brought into the spotlight, which I
Mhm.
think he does on purpose.
Yes.
Um, I know specifically that Elon has gone after Reid Hoffman pretty hard.
Mhm.
He's gone after Sam Altman pretty hard.
Yeah.
I can't recall if he's gone after Bezos, but it wouldn't surprise me. Do you, do you have any reason to believe that these kinds of people are gonna get exposed? I mean, why do you think it is that Trump brings these people into the spotlight for things like this?
That's the beginning of the exposure. That is the beginning. So, if you've ever seen Mike Smith's, what is it, Out of the Shadows,
Okay.
and all that, he kind of really explains that in detail, on how this propaganda machine has worked to basically parrot all of this information. And, they think that if they say it 3 times, it just makes it so.
Yeah.
Well, it's not true. So when you have President Trump and General Flynn and um, Charlie Kirk, that's one of the reasons I believe they assassinated him, is when you have the people who are putting out the real information, they're backing it up with the actual physical proof and the evidence. What that's doing is it's untying the stuff that's been put into somebody's brain as propaganda, because it's programming. Okay,
Yeah.
these people have been programmed, and you've got to basically deprogram these individuals by giving them the facts. And so yes, that's the reason that they put the names out, is, hey, these are people of interest, here's why. And what ends up happening is people like me and other groups and individual citizens end up looking into these individuals and their companies, their nonprofits, their NGOs, and who else they're tied to, and start figuring out where the money is coming in at, where it's being sent to. And you end up putting together the entire criminal syndicate. That's why they're talking about RICO now. This is going to be, what's happening is going to be the biggest RICO case in U.S. history. And there are going to be parts of this that are going to go under Title 15 and Title 50, which is going to fall under the Department of Defense. At some point in time, that will happen.
Can I
And they're
ask you,
setting the
so
stage.
you may have seen that, gosh, it's probably been about 3 or 4 weeks now, the Department of Defense started swearing in tech executives as commanding officers or something like that, to
Okay.
with the premise that they would be training the troops on AI and kind of guiding the direction of the country forward. And I just thought that was such an amazing Chinese finger trap for these tech executives who we know have suppressed speech and have done a lot of horrible things. Because I'm pretty sure when you get sworn in, Trump made the point yesterday at his big speech before all the generals, you take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution and protect America against terrorists, both foreign and domestic. So if you happen to be one of those terrorists, or if you happen to be abetting some kind of foreign agent, that then puts you under UCMJ, right?
I
USMCJ.
think they fell right into the trap.
They had no choice. If you say no, you look really
Yeah.
bad. There's no saying no, and then when you say yes, you better turn your ship around pretty darn quickly.
This is sedition and treason, and they've
Yeah,
taken an oath, and if they violate that oath, it's going to go to a military court.
so beautiful. So what's kept you in this? I mean, this is dark stuff. This is something so vast and deep and wide. I mean, when you look at that outline that you have,
Mm.
that's probably just scratching the surface as deep as it is. I saw Albert Bourla, I used to work for Pfizer, uh, at the White House yesterday stuttering, and Trump was saying what a great guy he is, and RFK was giving him dagger eyes behind his head,
Right.
and I just had to wonder, the pharma guys, are they gonna get rolled up in this too? It seems like they kinda have to.
At some point they're going to have to, and I'm glad you brought that up because when we start looking at our medical community, big pharma, and things of that nature, I'm just talking about stuff right now that has to do with um, your NGOs and nonprofits. But we have seen such a wild change in our healthcare structure, our pharmaceutical structure, and all of that. The Obamacare, the this new thing, where they started giving each thing a code, and they had the medical transcriptionist and all of that. When you have that much bureaucracy that's involved in something,
Yes.
it's to hide something else. Okay,
Exactly. That's what
so
I've been saying. Complexity begets corruption.
that's exactly right. So what I'm going to show you now, HCA Healthcare was one of the biggest ones for the jab, right? And so
Okay.
what we found is HCA, the parent company to HealthStream Services, is also from what we found, the parent company to Nursing Home Quality LLC. What we also found is it's the operating location for the home of the state attorney general and former assistant U.S. attorney Phil Weiser in Colorado, and that the home all of a sudden on 5/31 of 2007, 76,500,000 with a $26,500,000 loan. And we found numerous homes like this that are listed as operating locations for this company, but they're
Hmm.
private homes of managers or things like that. And it's over, I don't know, it's like $1.2 billion that we found. So, we're not just finding it in a single spot, we're finding it in numerous spots. And so, if you have something that works, a crime that works, and they've been getting away with it, then they continue it on and on and on into other areas because they've got to move more money.
Yeah.
And if they stay in one area, then they're going to get caught and somebody's going to blow the whistle.
So, kind of back to my previous question before I interrupted myself. Um, how do you stay in this? Because when I look at this, every day, I mean, literally every day, Sean, something new is is exposed to me, and I think, "Oh my god, it's even bigger than I thought." And I
Mhm.
don't know how that's possible because I already think it's really much bigger than I can possibly fathom. But you're seeing it like that as well, but far more up close and personal. What is keeping you in there?
God,
Yeah.
he gives you a road to go down and you have to listen to what he's saying.
Yeah.
And this is not somewhere I want to be. And every time I've tried to quit looking at this and not dig anymore, he brings me an even bigger piece of the puzzle
Wow.
to plug in. And I that's my obligation
Yeah.
to him, because if I fail at this, then I'm not just failing myself. I'm failing God. I'm failing my family. I'm failing our country and the other countries that this is hitting. This is hitting over in the UK. This is happening in
Yeah.
Australia. This is happening in Canada. We've identified these nonprofits, these mortgage companies, and all of that operating in other countries as well. So I don't want to fail, and
Yeah.
I refuse to fail. And James O'Keefe said something really very poignant that's kind of stuck with me. What's your price? If your price is 5
That's right.
million, then you're for sale. If it's 10 million, you're for sale. The price has to be your life.
That's right.
And that's where I'm at. And I've had to talk to my family about that and talk to my friends, and they stand behind me 100%. And that is a very, very big thing. And they know it's because it's a path that God set before me, and I need to walk it out, whatever it looks like. I've got
Amazing.
to keep going.
Yeah. It's a pick up your cross and follow me moment, huh?
Right.
Amazing. You brought up these other countries, and I'm so glad you did, because that's a point that I wanted us to get into a little bit. We had 107 has come on. Matt works with him really closely and talks about the fact that we, the US, we, the deep state of the US, the CIA, whatever um, agencies, have been behind the orange, the color revolutions in 72 countries.
Mhm.
I don't think he said we overturned 72 elections. I think it's 72 countries. So that to me says we could have done it more than once in those countries, and we probably have. Do you see us being able to rescue some of these people? I just saw this morning that Switzerland approved the digital ID, and I'm thinking those poor people. There's who was the other day? President Bukele from El Salvador posted. He's like, "This is the mark of the beast. The digital ID is literally taking you straight to hell."
Yeah. So, is the U.S. going to help? So let's look at it this way. We are the last stand. And that takes me to, if you're a parent and you're walking through the desert and you've got your child and you've only got one sip of water left to be able to get to a place where you're safe, who do you give the water to? And most parents say, well, I give it to my child. That answer is wrong. If you're dead, how will that child survive?
Yeah.
It's on you as a parent to take that last sip of water and be responsible enough to take that last sip of water to make sure to get your child to safety.
Hmm.
And that's what we have to do here in the United States. We're on that last sip. And it's up to us to take care of the homeland now before we can help children, which is other countries, to be able to get out of this new world order that George Bush and Soros and all of them started pushing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I even look at the children in America, and you think about all that Pete Hegseth said yesterday in his what I thought was an excellent speech, very encouraging for the direction of our military. And I think about what RFK Jr. is trying to do, and just his passion for the future generations of this country to be healthy, to be whole, to be
Mm-hmm.
fit. Um, and it seems like the progress we're making on those fronts is just happening, like, I mean, tiny baby step by tiny baby step. And I wonder, is it going to be this next generation, or is it going to be 2 generations from now that's going to be able to be healthy? And maybe they say stuff like drip drip flood, and so maybe things will happen that kind of way.
Yeah. And who is it? Steve Bannon that says, you know, you have what is it, a lifetime that happens in a minute and a
Yeah.
minute that happens in a lifetime. I think that's kind of what we're looking at. And you got to remember, it's been 30 years that's gotten us to where we're at now. So it's going to take several generations to get us back to where we need to be. And when I saw the people coming together for Charlie Kirk, people who had never prayed, people who had given
Yeah.
up on their faith and things like that, when I saw that happening, and what they have like over 1 billion views the other day,
Yeah.
and that tells you a lot. That tells you that faith is returning. And that is scaring the hell out of people like Hillary Clinton
Yeah.
and all of them, the Soros and all of that. Because when a person has faith, that's the strongest thing that you can have. And they cannot take that faith from you. And that's what's happening. And that faith is going to be contagious, and it's going to go around the world.
Yeah.
And they can have their digitalized currency and all of that. But at some point in time, you got to remember these are the minorities. It's not the masses. And
Yeah.
when the masses finally have enough and they stand up, these people will have nowhere to run
Yeah.
and hide.
It's true. They won't. How does your faith play into stuff like the state AGs that you choose to work with? Because I would think that there's got to be data that you follow, but then there's also got to be some discernment because the corruption is so deep and wide. It's almost feels impossible to know if the people who seem like good guys are even really good guys.
Yeah, it seems like the nicer they are, the less I trust them.
Wow.
And I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah. Shoot. That's a tough pill to swallow, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
just yeah.
it is. And it's, I've sat down with some of these state AGs, including the state AG here in the state of Tennessee, and he's supposed to be this conservative Christian, Republican. And he needs to do some more reading.
Yeah. Yeah. When you think about what's coming next, I mean, Act Blue, When Red, a lot has been coming out about that time. I mean, the financial flows are starting to come out into the public sphere. On Twitter, Peter Berniger's been doing some really deep dives showing that I think he claimed the other day that up to 80% of politicians, maybe at the federal level, but maybe I don't know what his scope of politicians was. So I may be off on that. Are benefiting grossly from the smurfing scams.
Mm-hmm.
What how do you see this starting to get rolled up?
So what they've got to do is they've got to have a team, number one. And right now in the federal government, there's very few people that can be trusted because you have to remember the Obamas and the Clintons have bred a a culture within these federal agencies.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a little while to push those people out. Everybody's wanting stuff done now, 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 now. Well, that's not how it works. And so right now they're having difficulty in putting together teams that are going to do what they need to do. And then they have these teams that are ready to move forward, but then you have the bean counters that won't allow them to do the travel, that won't allow them to have a new vehicle, won't allow them to have this training and things like that. And the money is there. The problem is these are Biden, Obama, Clinton holdovers, and they're trying to basically stop what's coming. And so you have to deal with that aspect. So we're in the middle of dealing with that right now. And then once you get past all of that, then you have to look at, okay, if we bring charges, who are we going to use to prosecute it? And then what judge are we going to use to oversee the trial? So now you've got to look at the DOJ, who's going to prosecute it, and the judge that's going to oversee the trial. So now you got to clear those. So now you've cleared those issues and you're able to move on to indictments. So when you're going on to the indictments, that's where your long road is at. That's not something that's going to happen right away. It's not something that's going to be quick. It's not something that's going to be easy. It's going to be messy. We're not going to like to look at it. We're not going to like to hear about it. And we're going to get aggravated and upset. Like, why can't we do this? Well, why? It's called the Constitution. It's a thing that's supposed to be protecting you and I.
Yeah.
Also protects the person that they are saying has done something wrong. You are innocent until you are found guilty. Okay. Period. Just because you're indicted doesn't mean that you are guilty of anything.
Right.
It just means that you have to stand trial for what they're claiming. And so we've got to look at that. So are the things coming? Absolutely. Is it going to be quick and easy? No, it's not. The best thing to do right now is to get in there and start looking for the money, getting the money, and returning it back to where it needs to be. If they find that it went through nefarious acts to be able to be given to Act Blue, then that money needs to be seized and it needs to go into anti-trafficking stuff with the government and the anti-drug stuff with the government, and start taking care of the people. It starts needing to go into education. We need to stop what's happening within the local schools, what's happening in the colleges,
Yeah.
the universities, and the programming that's happening there with these liberal progressive professors. We need to push them out. We need to do stuff like the Little Red Schoolhouse that's happening in different states, where it's a group of people who get to teach together and they have their own little
Yeah.
community schoolhouse. Because what we're finding is that actually makes us better, and educates the kids more so that they're more successful in society. We need to start looking at all of these different things. There's no easy, simple fix to this, and people have to understand. Okay, Act Blue came in 2004, 2005. Okay, so you're probably looking at least half that amount of time to be able to charge them criminally and get a conviction. And people need to understand that this is not something that just happened overnight and somebody flipped a switch. You just can't pull the plug and drain it. It's going to
Wow.
take time.
You know what does encourage me though is the commissioning of JAGs that's happened in the last couple of weeks,
Yeah.
and I think one thing that came to mind when we saw the Secretary of War yesterday give his big speech to all those generals is it for the military seems to be a much easier place to clean out because of the way the structure works than the rest of the government. And so if they can clean out the military and get the right people in the right places, then maybe justice through the military is going to be the way that it has to happen, because we've seen the lawfare at every single one of President Trump's executive orders or even directives.
Hmm.
I mean, all of these judges, how do you get them out? We don't see that. We have a criminal Congress. No one's going to have the will. There's not enough good people in there to have the will to impeach these people. So I don't know what way you deal with that other than having to I don't know. Do you just roll them up and send them to
I,
military courts too?
I believe after the midterm elections, we're probably going to start seeing some indictments, arrests, and trials happening, and some special elections.
Excellent. If you were to look at the expanse of American politics right now, how many of our elected officials do you think we could reasonably say have been duly elected by the people that they purport to represent?
Um, I'll just say they're in the minority, the very
Yeah,
small minority.
yeah, I would think so too. Well, how can people support you, Sean? What advice would you give us before we go to the support thing? What advice would you give to people? I don't want people to leave this conversation feeling overwhelmed or in despair. I want them to know, what can they do? How can they be praying for you and your team? What can local communities be doing to help further this cause?
Number one, pray. Come together. Don't let this these people polarize you. Don't allow yourself to be polarized. You need to come together with the people that you disagree with and agree to disagree. Help teach each other, and listen to the word of God. You need to come together. That's the biggest thing. And it doesn't matter, which socioeconomic class you are. It doesn't matter what race you are. None of that matters. The government tries to make that matter, and it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
because we're all children of God. And it's time that we come together and we have faith and need to understand this is a spiritual warfare. And so prayer is the biggest thing in coming together with the people that you may disagree with. You may learn something, they may learn something, and you guys may grow together. So that's the first and foremost. The next thing is pay attention to your local government, what's happening right there. Start looking at your city councils, your school boards, start digging into these people that have been selected, not elected a lot of times.
Yeah.
Look at the voting stuff. Look to see, all the mortgage activity, all of that's public record. Start pulling that information. If you've got a bunch of people on your school board, a bunch of people on your on your city council, a bunch of people on your county commission that are involved in some type of construction, involved in nonprofits, and all that, you need to start pulling the documentation. You need to start looking into the mortgage activity. You need to start pulling the nonprofit stuff online, seeing where the money is going to, where it's coming from. That's how you get involved. That's how you get involved, and you start passing that information on, but you have to document it. And so those are the first two things that people need to do.
Awesome. And I will put here in the chat a way for people to support your work. Let me do that now. But talk about how people can support you there.
So the Give Send Go that you're going to be putting up, what that does is it helps us be able to financially survive and to afford the attorneys. And let me tell you, the attorneys are not cheap.
No, they're
We have
not.
a lot of things that are fixing to be happening with the attorneys. And, we had to sell our family home and a lot of our stuff and move. And I miss my home and all of that, but you got to be able to give that up to do what's right.
Yeah.
That's one way that they can give to the Give Send Go to be able to keep us funded, keep us going. They can go to EFI.org and they can also donate there as well. They can go to our X page. I believe it's at FTG Solutions LLC as well, or go to conspiracycop.com.
Conspiracycop.com. I love that. Before I let you go, what is your dream outcome for this? You've been in it for a few years now. You've been digging, you've been mapping, you've been seeing all the connections. Where do you hope this road takes us?
Accountability and truth. And the truth is always somewhere in the middle. And right now we're so polarized, we can't get to the middle. So that's my dream, is everybody being able to come together and being able to talk to one another and being able to accept one another and working together to get our republic back and to make it great again, so that we can do the work that we need to do and not be the bully of the globe, but to be able to assist these other countries.
Yeah, especially the ones that our deep state have had such a hand in destroying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Well, God bless you, Sean. It's such a pleasure to spend time with you today. The time has flown by. I can't wait. We'll get you back on the State of Freedom sometime soon. I know these developments are happening every day. I think the snowball is gaining steam and starting to roll down the hill a little bit. So I'm excited for that. And I'm excited. I agree. I think, and I really do have faith that we will see accountability. There's this kind of modern American Christianity view that the only accountability we'll ever see is in the sweet by and by. And I don't buy that. That's not biblical. It's not in the Bible that people only get justice in the afterlife. They
Right.
will. Everybody will stand before God and be judged.
Yeah.
But they may stand before the people and be judged as well. And I pray that we get to see that. I believe we will.
Yeah, that will be what people need. And to start with the arrests of Antifa is a great place to start.
It absolutely is. Well, God bless you, Sean. Thank you
You as well.
for all that you're doing. Thank you for the sacrifices you and your family have made to bring truth to the front. I pray that you get to see a lot of accountability with a front row seat.
I wouldn't mind it.
Awesome. You have a wonderful day,
You
Sean.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for all of our listeners, we will be back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central on the State of Freedom. We will be with our friend Matt Meck, who made the original connection to Sean, actually, and he will be talking to us about some of the Dominion whistleblowers. He'll be talking about the Act Blue Win Red stuff. He'll be giving us an update on our friend Tina Peters. And I also want to mention that there's a big event in Texas coming up on October 4th. I will be putting that in the show notes for anybody who's interested in it. There's some really great speakers, Dr. Brian Artis, and some others. I believe it's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So just take a look on our X page. I'll be putting it there, and I'll be putting it in the show notes as well. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I wanted to be sure and make an announcement about that. I think it's called maybe Reawaken. It's not the Reawaken America tour, but it's something connected to that. So I'm doing a horrible job of promoting it right now, but just be on the lookout. All right, everybody. Well, God bless you. Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow. Meet the world's first living, full-spectrum, certified organic CBDA hemp extract. Ness's hemp oil was extracted from seed to bottle without chemicals, solvents, or heavy metals, and it surpasses world-class standards for purity. This pure and powerful CBDA has been proven to reduce aches and pains, ease mental tension, and promote better sleep. To get yours today, visit the Shop Our Partners page at freedomstate.us. Hey, Danielle Walker here. I'd love for you to check out my online boutique, Luxe Lion. My mission for Luxe Lion is to showcase innovative African designers and sustainable, mission-driven brands. To do that, I bring you stunningly beautiful handcrafted jewelry and accessories from some of my absolute favorite places on earth. Small batch wholesale for storefronts is also available. Join me in celebrating African artistry and shop now at luxelion.us. Use promo code FREEDOM for an additional 10% off your purchase. Thanks for joining me today on For the Love of Freedom. It is an honor and a true privilege to get to spend some time with you. If you're looking for other episodes of this show, you can find them on all of the State of Freedom platforms. And a reminder that this show is live on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Central. God bless.